Thank you. After some minor technical difficulties here, I would get an F- if I was in charge of e-commerce, apparently. But we're live. We made it. I'm Stacey Woodlets. I'm thrilled to be moderating a panel today with it's called for channel diversification, accelerating the move to multi-channel marketplaces in DTC. We're talking about e-commerce, the new normal. I have no idea what that looks like, so I'm looking forward to all of you explaining it to me. We have Paul Siliak, founder and CEO of Green Man Gaming, Eddie Swindle of Fresh Relevance, co-founder and CRO, and Beth Horn, director, head of industry, retail and commerce at Facebook. So welcome to all of you. We've heard from so many retailers, countless companies, brands who have blown through their digital goals. Nike reached 30% 2 years early. Retailers and brands have had to pivot overnight. They're adapting to curbside pickup, virtual appointments. The whole game has completely changed. Their relationship with wholesale has changed. So I'd love to hear from all of your perspectives. What are the biggest changes that multi-channel retailers need to make as this shift happens so quickly online? Maybe Beth, can I call you to start out first?
Sure, I'd be happy to jump in, and thanks so much for having me as part of this chat today. So I think what's been interesting over the last few months, as we first went into lockdown back in March and the weeks and months that have happened since, is that I'm, especially in the UK sector, I'm really seeing a tale of two retails. And it's basically that bifurcation is down to not are you an essential category or not, which is more of what I'm seeing in the US. But here it's much more about the kinds of behaviors and the nimbleness of movement that companies have. And so how quickly can you pivot your business to be entirely based online? Does your staff out of a store support center have laptops that are going to be able to do what they need to do working remotely? How is your fulfillment center going to work? How's the last mile going to get? I'll tell you, I think I'm nearly at the point where Vlad, my DPD driver, is nearly a member of my family after the last few months of being at home with all of the orders I've made. So looking at the kind of behaviors that are really defining who's winning and who's not right now, it's down to that kind of flexibility and how people are changing their behaviors. From a consumer standpoint, I think what's fascinating is that it takes us about 2 months of a new behavior done frequently over and over again to solidify into a habit. We're more than 2 months into this now. So I think what was novel behavior in the beginning is, to some of the earlier points, the acceleration of trends that we thought weren't going to fully flower for a number of years, but they're here. So really thinking about this is what the baseline is for moving forward, and how do we have enough flexibility as marketeers to be able to address things where the consumer is, because we think about things in channels that a customer doesn't.
So that's interesting that the behavior after 2 months is sticky, because that's what everybody's questioning here. Paul, I'd love to hear from your perspective. This should actually be positive for your business, I would think, if everybody's going to be virtual now.
Yes, it is, and thank you very much indeed for the question. I mean, from our perspective, we're a pure online digital business anyway. So we don't have any physical stores. We don't have to worry about a massive, great long supply chain. We distribute and sell digital video games on a global basis. And so our presence in the market was always there on a pure digital basis. All that's happened right now is that a lot of our significantly sized competitors are no longer able to trade. And the investments, and this is the key part for us, the investment that we've made in the technical platform that we've got, our ability to be able to scale that platform on a global basis, the languages, the payment systems, the currencies that we offer to our customers in 195 countries. All of that has been paying off in spades as the massive lockdown has changed. And I just echo what Beth was saying. People are changing their habits of how they consume products. They are changing their habits of how they look for products and how they see products that are out there in the marketplace. And what we're seeing is a shift of people who potentially would go down to the high street to purchase a video game, actually searching for it online and coming to us via the performance marketing channels and the affiliate channels that otherwise they may not have used in the past.
Great. Eddie, can you talk a little bit about, obviously budgets are tight right now, everybody's cutting, but data is so important. What are the kinds of data solutions that you're offering right now to brands and retailers as they're kind of shell-shocked with this transition? I guess, what are the top ones they're really going for and they're willing to spend money on that you can be a game changer for them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thanks for the question, Stacey. I mean, firstly, of course, it is a huge time of change, but it's actually a huge opportunity as well, too. You know, it's such a bizarre scenario. It reminds me. I thought of an article written by the infamous Rory Sutherland, talking about this situation and change. In that, you know, it's an opportunity to break a cycle. There's such a huge amount of change. You know, Rory said if you wanted to change a production line, you need to shut it down first. So what we're seeing here is such a huge amount of change going on inside our client organizations, people working from home, new types of communication between teams, you know, realignment of teams, you know, increasing efficiencies. It's an incredible opportunity. And in terms of the data, this is a really, really important point, especially where we're seeing a huge amount of activity online, even with historical offline vendors. The biggest challenge that we see people really trying to address at the moment, and I speak to numerous companies about this almost daily, is really trying to get that single view of the customer. Mm-hmm. You've got the online data that's incredibly important, but the offline data is just as important. And at this point, where these e-commerce sites are seeing a combination of novice shoppers that might be shopping online for the first time when they normally like to pop down the shops, or loyal customers that have traditionally bought offline coming in store. And the only way to really join this up and provide a personalized or a congruent customer experience, and that's one of the key pillars that these companies are really focusing on, is improving the customer experience, and data is key to doing that. So, to summarize the answer to that question, actually getting the single view of the customer is more important now than it's ever been, mixing online and offline data. But it's actually what people do with that data. It's really having the tools and the ability and the resource to leverage that data to personalize the customer experience online for these really key customer profiles, some of which haven't even been considered in the past. I mean, for example, the novice shopper. How long have we talked about catering for a novice? Has it been since we talked about catering for a novice, a brand new shopper online that might not be even used to using an e-commerce store, but now they really need to do it for the first time?
Do all of you feel like companies are finally using their data? Because we always hear about data, but the companies standalone, they have a lot of it. They don't necessarily use it effectively. Have we crossed that line to where they are using it effectively and able to translate it really across channels rather than thinking in silos?
It's definitely it's definitely much more attainable than it has ever been in the past, but there are still silos. I mean, here we're just talking about customer data, shopping data, but still, you know, one of the big things that that we're seeing, and we hope to see more of, especially in the current climate where internal efficiencies are really, really important, is how different teams work together inside of organizations that may be siloed. Mm-hmm. For example, I was just speaking to a big e-commerce company this morning, and we were talking to them about personalization and testing and optimization. Testing and optimization is actually managed by the development team. Nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with customer data. You know, it's personalizing an element of the website and working out which thing works best, as opposed to targeting specific website experiences and even testing those against specific individuals or specific profiles. So customer data, yes, but the big change that I think we're going to see over the coming weeks, months, maybe years, is actually the how data and systems are shared internally to leverage this across these different silos.
And group thinking rather than silo thinking.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the importance of embracing community. Can you talk about the role of using data from community to sell stuff without losing your authenticity? Beth, I'd love to hear from you. And Paul, you have something like 4.5 billion data points about your community. Is community marketing? Is it selling stuff? Is it a means to just gain advertising dollars? What role does community play?
So the link between community and data is absolutely key. And actually, I think now as a pure play online e-commerce retailer, you have stacks of data about your customers. You know where they came from, where they go to, where they dropped off, how long they spent on your website, which pages they click through. You can compare them to everybody else. You can look at, as a gaming company, can see every single game that our customers have ever bought from us, naturally. But we can also see every single game that they've ever bought and played on the various different gaming platforms that are out there. We can see, regardless of whether they purchased that from us or not, we can see the ability for that customer to succeed in that game by the number of achievement points that they score in those particular games. We can see how long they played the game for, when they roll off that game and when they roll on to the next game. All of that data is sitting there. The challenge that you have is, how do you apply that data, and how do you go through that data and come up with useful, credible, beneficial conclusions? And that is the art form. We've got it used to be 10 years ago that you had a little bit of data and you draw a conclusion from it. Actually now, what you've got is, you've got so much data, you've really got to be smart about, and have smart business intelligence guys working with you, or girls working with you, to be able to drill down and find out really what's going on with this data and the application of that. When you're taking that application of data on a commercial basis, the outcome is very, very binary. Either the customer purchases or they don't purchase. Mm-hmm. And then you can run multiple different tests as to whether they will purchase or won't purchase on that particular traffic through your website. When you're talking about community, however, it's shades of grey. There's no binary outcome. Whether somebody has an emotional attachment to your brand is actually a very personal thing. And unless you sort of go out and look at various different scores that are out there on the net, which can actually see how sticky your community is and frequency of visiting, actually, what you're trying to do is you're trying to do the best thing you can for your community without a binary outcome, which is something of a challenge. But it's a challenge that not just people in the games industry need to come and confront. It's every single industry that's out there, because not just games, but clothes, as we heard before from Steve, and everything from mobile phones with giffgaff. It's a community supporting a brand, and a community supporting an organization is what will give it the longevity and the differentiating quality that you need these days.
And while you can't maybe measure it exactly, as you were saying, binary outcome, it's important in the long term for, obviously, brand loyalty. So, and Beth, I'd love to hear from you on that topic.
Yeah, no, I think that, well, first, I would just agree with everything that my esteemed panelists have just shared. I think that confluence of data and community, and how you use it for not just what's interesting, but what is actionable, I think that's really critical. And this is where pure play e-commerce companies are born. This is a superpower within the D2C community. And when we think about so much more of the world moving online, I am a brick and mortar born and bred. I started my career at Macy's, so I have great love for actual physical stores. But as we think about what the superpowers are of D2C, it is having data embedded in everything. And it is being able to cut through that and understand what are the actionable insights, and then you test and you iterate and you move at speed. And I think that taking inspiration from that core center of what D2C companies are able to do, that's what brick and mortars can really take from it. And on the flip side of it, I think the branded storytelling and making that emotional connection where it's not just cut straight to here is the product, sell, sell, sell. Sometimes that's going to work, and other times there really is a deeper connection that needs to be made. And there's a reason why John Lewis makes these gorgeous Christmas spots every year that make the entire country cry.
Right.
And part of it is because it is a wonderful emotional thing, but it's also because it helps the business. And so understanding how the brand activity plays in, sort of the heart to go with the head of the data, I think that's really where the sweet spot is overall.
Beth, can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing with personalization? I know you were doing something through Messenger that the brands were able to kind of communicate directly. Can you talk about how you're bringing the experience to the next level of personalization?
Sure. Well, I think looking a little bit more broadly at commerce in general, so we're really seeing that businesses of all sizes are being forced to change their model and adapt to selling online. So what we're doing is really accelerating our work in the commerce space and building solutions to help. So our goal is to make shopping seamless, empower anybody from an entrepreneur to the largest brands in the world to use our apps to connect with their customers. So the most recent announcement that we've made about that was the launch of Facebook Shops, which is to make it easy for people to set up, or for brands to set up a single online shop for customers to access on Facebook and Instagram, adding features across our apps to help people discover and shop for things they love. And that's being built out of London. That's our London engineering team, who are slightly more geographically dispersed right now than they would have been, say, 4 months ago. But that's a product that really has been built out of user and customer feedback, which is where we start all of our product development, and then looking to how we can get the best kind of tools in the hands of the brands that we all serve.
Great. This is like the shortest panel I could spend an hour with you guys. So I want to just ask you for your boldest predictions for 2021. Maybe what percentage of sales you think are going to be online. Our marketplace is going to rule the world. On the data side, is there anything that we can do to solve the returns problem that's piling up as everybody's online? And I've seen stores where literally boxes are piled to the ceiling. People are just bringing stuff back and throwing it in piles. So I guess your boldest predictions about, how your tools can fix a problem, or just industry predictions, would be great.
Shall I kick off there?
Sure.
Go on, Eddie.
It's all you, Eddie.
Oh, blimey. 2021, can't wait for it. 2020's been such a rocky road. The new normal, guess what? I don't think there is going to be one for the foreseeable future. The new normal is going to be consistent and rapid change. As things change and we need to adapt to it, it's going to be all about agility. Just looking into the future really, really quickly, most of these things we can help with, but this isn't a pitch about fresh relevance. I think that post-COVID, when things do settle down, there are a lot of sectors that are really, really benefiting, and we're expecting to see somewhere between 10 and 20% uplift in those sectors post-COVID. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with changes in seasonality. People aren't going on holiday. Summer purchasing is going to change. What people are doing at home is going to be changing. But then again, there's opportunity there. I think we've already seen a big rise in some high value products. Car sales have just shot up. Maybe that's because people aren't spending on holiday and they don't want to go on public transport. We're going to see more companies failing and going into administration, but also inside of that, there's going to be massive opportunity for the ones that aren't cash constrained, both in terms of acquiring companies that are going into administration, but also buying stock. We've had really interesting companies that have been very, very aggressive with acquiring stock at discount prices because the suppliers of the stock also have excess capacity. And so, there's opportunity out there. The sectors that are doing well will continue to do well, maybe not as well as they have been over the last few months. But for other sectors, they really, really need to streamline to weather the storm, which will last for a little while yet.
Great. Paul?
So from my perspective, I think there are two key things that really are going to change from 20 to 21. I think from an e-commerce perspective, that the investment in technology is going to become key. And it's already been demonstrated right now. Technical benefits and technical advantage in the marketplace between e-commerce players is going to be key. If you're waiting for a third party to support you on that, then they're already providing that to your competitor, and then you're too late to the market. And the second thing is, I think international reach is going to be key. People are going to become specialized, be it gym clothing, be it digital computer games, highly specialized, but in a global market, where you can touch customers in South America as easily as you can touch customers in Southend.
Great, thank you.
And then I would just say very quickly, I think that on top of all of that, winning at logistics is going to be live and die for brands. And the expectations that we all have now about in-stock delivery, credible information, when you're able to actually get things to my home, since I'm bored to tears being in my house, but I'm in no rush to get out of it. So how we fulfill that promise to consumers, I think, is going to be absolutely critical. So the logistics of how we get the right products in front of the right people and then into their homes is going to be key.
Right. And is the customer willing to just get in their car and drive and pick it up without that experience? Like, how do you upsell? We have to think completely differently about that transaction in each channel. Thank you all so much for joining us. I wish I had another 25 minutes, but that's a wrap. So thank you very much. And I would love to turn it back over to Ian.